minutes.
That's right, you're not here, so we're good, all right. So by consensus, the minutes have been reviewed and approved. Community business, with the gentleman from Dover Bowl, I think you were here.
Yep.
Did you come up, did you bring us your building permit?
No, it's
Oh, you
somewhere,
have it? Oh, I see.
somebody
Okay.
has it.
Could I have the name, please?
Mark Bowen, B-O-W-E-N.
And is that marked with a K?
Yes.
Building inspector just wants you to coordinate with him.
He's already been out,
Okay.
review,
For any,
reviewing plans, it's on clock, right?
Yep, yes, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, he's retiring in a little while, he's staying part-time
Staying
with
with us,
Rollinsford.
that's right.
He pulls up in his convertible. I go, Tom, what are you on tour? I'm like, he goes, this is my retirement card. I love it.
Very good for him.
Perfect, yep. You have it.
Yeah, and
Sorry for the confusion.
the assistant chiefs already came up today to go over the project, so everybody's on board,
All right.
everybody's,
All right, sorry for a little mix-up about last
Let
week.
me, you're doing the copy.
Sure. Can you sign it?
Oh, yeah, you want to sign it before I copy? Get your copy. We'll change it.
Zero.
You gotta get your copy, right?
you got it. I think we should call it an early night and just give blanket approval.
Just go like this?
Everybody's all set, okay? And we go have pizza.
You're stepping out of line.
Fat chance of that.
I don't know, maybe if I hear it again.
Oh, I hear you.
There is a pizza issue later on.
I got 3 hours booked so I can
Yeah,
So you
see
can
what's
hang,
going on.
okay.
yeah, they're celebrating their birthday.
What's that?
They're celebrating the birthday here.
Oh, really? Happy birthday. Awesome, happy birthday.
Yeah, she said she used to serve you coffee.
Where?
Dunkin' Donuts.
Absolutely. I should have bought stock in that a long time ago.
Yes.
Yeah,
What, how's your
absolutely.
Black.
I took it all kinds of ways. Well, no, hot coffee was a certain way, then iced coffee, then, you
Yeah,
know.
down on Central Avenue, the railroad tracks.
Yeah, absolutely.
You and your partner.
Michael,
Yes.
Michael Downs, yeah.
Michael Downs graduated Dover High 1966. So
No.
you would know that.
No, not 1966. Not the Michael Downs I was.
No, not that Michael Downs, honey.
He graduated, because I'm 77, he was 77.
Oh,
He was
oh,
a,
same name.
they
Yes,
were
yes.
youngins.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah, well,
No,
thank you.
go behind 1961. Now you got something going.
Well, he's close.
Hey,
St.
Bill,
Mary's.
first time I
You
met
went to St.
Billy,
Mary's Nova? I went to St. Mary's Nova.
I went to
No,
St.
you
Thomas,
did,
but it wasn't until 74.
I didn't know that.
I wasn't here in St. Mary, I was in,
Sister Aloysius and Sister Judith.
Yeah?
Sister Judith.
Cecilia.
Yeah.
do you know who was there still?
Good luck with your project.
Thank you very much,
Jesus.
thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
Sister Gertrude. No,
Oh,
she's
yeah.
not still there, but
Right.
she's still
All right.
alive.
We're gonna go on.
Yeah, we gotta do.
I'm all set,
Thank
take
you very
care.
much, appreciate it.
See it out of here. Think
Other
about it.
community business. Is there other community business? They're audience members.
Yeah, we just, I was anticipating.
Waiting for, no,
Breakfast was awesome.
waiting for Paul Conlon.
Okay.
Paul Conlon?
Yeah,
No other community business here? right,
No.
we'll go on with department head business. I have building inspector, code enforcement officer, but I don't believe he's here. Fire, Chief Rutherford.
Hey, look at that.
Just barely arrived.
Good evening. A few things to go over tonight. Couple of purchase orders to take care of tonight. First one is, we've been doing a lot of training the last month or so. Weather's changed, so we're out throwing some water and getting the guys' pumping skills and stuff back in shape and working the vehicles a little bit. One thing that we found out was our compartments at our fire trucks are full with everything we need to carry. So on the back end of the fire trucks, if you ever see them when you're going down the street or you look at them when you're in the station, there's a lot of stuff mounted on the back side of the fire truck. So as it goes through the winter, of course, it gets all the salt and the dirt and everything else on top of it. One of the things we have on the back side is one of our large diameter nozzles. So if we show up and there's a large volume of fire, an incident, would be one of the first lines that we would use off the fire truck. Well, with it having spent the whole winter outside, it was a little beat up, needed to be taken apart, cleaned, and it's about a $2,500 piece of equipment. So to prevent that from happening again, we did some research, and it has to stay on the outside of the truck. We have no place else to put it. So we went out and purchased a cover so that it can be sealed, completely weatherproof, zipper. It's easy for the guys to grab and deploy it, but we can protect that piece of equipment from just a normal wear and tear and ride around the back step of the fire truck like we used to nowadays. So we did some research. We found a place that gave us a deal. So I have purchase order number 630, and it's to handy lift cover. It's out of Stowe, Vermont. And basically it's for the blitz fires, which we call that nozzle. We purchased it, it's on board, it's on the truck, the nozzle's been serviced, taken care of, and it's sitting right there ready to go. And there is the purchase order for
Okay, I will purchase order number 630 to Handy Lift Cover Company for one Blitz Fire nozzle cover for $195.
Second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 What line did I take that? That's the equipment line, I think I took that one out of?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I guess first time you dipped into that machine. And the second purchase order for this evening that I have is, we had an issue with our extrication order. Basically, we have three tools that we use. We have the power head, the unit, and we have what's called a spreader that you can use to push doors, dashes, and whatnot out of the way. We have a spreader for spreading and opening doors, try to pop those open when people are trapped inside. We have a cutter, so we cut roofs off, cut doors, and remove things. The cutter unit, which we had, was a 20,000-pound force cutting unit, which actually in reality is a very small number, because nowadays the cutting units that they recommend is 200,000 pounds of pressure. Because of all the new cars, with the titanium and the boron and the new metals that are on board, the new cars, because they're lighter, but they're also got a lot more strength than what we used to deal with. So what happened was that one had a failure of a couple of parts, so we sent in to get it replaced, or serviced. It was gonna cost $2,500 to put the old unit back into serviceable at 20,000 pounds. So while they were doing that, they gave us a loaner. A loaner, it's called a speedway cutter, which has a lot longer jaws, and it's more what they use in NASCAR type thing. So they gave us that as a loaner while the other one was gonna get repaired. Well, through some negotiation back and forth and parts and this and that, the $2,500 cost was a little more than we thought was kind of gonna be reasonable when we were thinking, well, if we gotta do this, we have to upgrade to the 200,000 eventually, which is about a $6,000 unit. So what they gave us that loaner, so we kind of worked out a deal with Fire Tech and Safety that we were going to purchase the loaner unit that they gave us for $1,000. Instead of putting $2,500 into an old unit at 20,000 pounds cutting force, the new one, or the loaner which we purchased, has 60,000 pounds of cutting force. So we've tripled our capacity. And instead of having to spend $2,500 to repair the old one, we got a newer unit for $1,000. Did you follow all that?
I actually, yes, so, can we ask you questions?
Please
So-
do.
So, is it a question of the amount of time it takes you to cut through? Is that the difference? I mean, can you still cut through a titanium with this, the one that we're going to ditch? It just, it takes longer?
Correct.
All right,
And some, even with the 60,000 pounds of cutting force now, there's still some that we're not gonna do. Or it's gonna take multiple tools to do that. And we only have, like I said, the three that I explained that we run off of our unit. So we will be calling in another community, whether it's South Berwick or Dover or whatever, on a mutual aid basis to bring in their equipment. And we would have to do things simultaneously to try to make sure we get through these cuts. And like I said, this is for the, you know, a lot of the high-end vehicles and newer stuff, they're all going that way. So it's something that just over time and technology that you have to upgrade your equipment in order to be able to perform the rescues, which we need to do. But now we've upgraded to where we are, so we're gonna be one step closer to where we need to be, for the rest of our.
yeah, I'm sort of thinking ahead, it's probably not enough to be on the SIP though, right? If it's 6,000,
About 6,000 for the new top of the
So,
line
some
cutting
we
materials.
might wanna consider from a budgetary, sticking it in the operating budget some year when it seems,
I already had
makes
that-
sense.
I already had that discussion
All
this
right.
evening.
all right.
We
good.
kinda went through that.
How old is the new used unit?
The new used unit is 7 years old. Considering what we had, was 18.
Okay.
All right, so it's definitely an upgrade,
It was an upgrade.
yeah,
And like I said, just to fix an 18-year-old unit was $2,500.
yeah.
So we got a unit 11 years newer, 3 times the cutting capacity for $1,000.
And this is also coming out of your equipment line?
Correct. That's purchase order 631 out of the equipment line. Like I said, fire tech and safety, and it's for upgraded speedway cut.
Move to accept purchase order 631 to Fire Tech and Safety of New England for Speedway cutter for $1,000.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And both of those came out of the equipment line. I know, Joe, you're great at keeping up on that. We hadn't tapped into it yet, so out of that line, it was 6, so we got out of the 48 range, so we're still well within where we need to be, so. I know you've watched that. So, the next thing that I guess I'm gonna throw this one back to you, and to see what we wanna do with it, and what solution we can come up to, is the discussion that you and I had during the breakfast Saturday morning, when you came up and asked me that question, is that all we got?
This is about the gravel.
And the answer is yes.
So that was the answer.
I had a discussion with the road agent with Jeff tonight, and there was a little bit more there than he had anticipated. So his figuring is, he went to, what did he tell me he went? Went someplace where he got like $2 to $3 a ton cheaper. That's 4 loads that he put in there, and he estimates we probably need the same amount to finish.
So this was like $400, is that what the PO was roughly?
It was.
Now,
And you had not finished the job?
it did not finish the job.
Oh,
And
Okay.
that's why it prompted me to ask the question, because I was there on
About
Saturday
halfway.
morning, and I said, oh, look,
okay.
there's this, and
Half
I
to
said,
just
oh.
over, just maybe
Didn't quite-
60%.
Yeah, I would say about that.
Just a hair over half.
Yeah.
So you need like, what, 2 more tons or something?
He's thinking about the same amount to finish it, and to finish grading out both sides of the parking lot till it be done. So he's figuring if we could find whatever you wish, we find the funding to finish the job. Now, whether it comes out of one of my line items somewhere, and I know it was a little bit of a heartache when we went through this a week or so ago. And I don't know where we wanna go now, so I'm kinda throwing it back to you guys. I know there's not enough in the building line, which would probably be one place to take it, I know it's not there. And I've said before, and I understand your budgeting practices, you wanna take it out of the proper ones, you wanna assign to where it needs to go. And I'm just wondering where we wanna go, because I know, as it's been since I've been here, is, there's gonna be extra money in the budget. It's just a matter of where we allocate it.
So Chief, Jody last week suggested, perhaps waiting. So we didn't want to do it for the first go around, but I'm wondering, now that, so what is maybe you can tell us what the impact is if we waited till sort of like maybe early fall until we can see what,
the impact is.
yeah.
As you saw the other day with the event that we had at the fire station, parking lot was pretty full, so other than some of the individuals on the fire department that put their trucks in there, if somebody was to put their vehicle in there as a citizen to park in that hole, sometimes they may not get out, especially after the rain. Hopefully they would not go there, but I can't guarantee that unless I send somebody out in the parking lot to click off to keep them out of it.
Are you planning other events? I mean, what,
Yeah, they're planning on some other things for the association here coming up in the near future. They've done some dinners and some other events. There's a training class that we're gonna start, that some of the members are gonna take, and we're gonna have some outside agencies come in. I had a discussion the other day, Chief Ducharme has solicited some of our trainers so they can do CPR and AED training. And we'll probably do that at the fire station. And if we get 15 vehicles, we don't have room for them.
right. And there's a drop-off. I mean, there's clearly a drop-off there.
Yep. Yep. You know, I mean, when we started it, I just knew we had finished. And I understand the reasoning, and so why don't we wait, because I know Bear Road's coming up, and there's other issues like that. But my point, like I said, is I know the funds are gonna be there, but it's just a matter of where we take it.
Well,
Did we use the whole building maintenance line already?
yeah, for the
Pretty
doors.
close.
We got 80
For the
dollars.
doors and for we serviced and had some issues with the heating plant there in the fall.
Yeah,
So that gobbled it right up. And I think the last time when Jody was tracking, it was only like $80. It was about the last time he told me. And that would be the logical place to go, to keep it within the proper perspective of what we're trying to show on our line items.
What do we have left in sand and gravel? How much did we spend on the last one?
$400 on the last one. So they need another 400.
So we have approximately $3,100 left in the line.
Didn't Jeff use, it was $400 going to the firehouse. He was gonna use $400 that he was gonna haul the bicentennial park
yeah,
directly.
bicentennial park.
So I think there was $800 used on that
Yes.
last time we had a discussion a couple of weeks ago.
And
And
last
he
year-
anticipated that's all he was gonna use.
Last year, we spent about $1,200 out of the $3,500 line. I think you're okay flat for it.
Do you have a purchase order?
I don't have a purchase order with me because I wasn't sure where we were going.
Same for you.
But if you want me to get one, I'll go get it.
Do you, yes, I mean, you know, it sounds like, Michael, if I read you correctly, you're gonna be willing to
There's
give
more
some of
than-
it. So, we
The
have,
door open?
Well,
they have a
key.
Somebody wants to let me
Where,
in the office, I'll grab it.
Where,
I don't know where she keeps them.
I do.
I do.
Where did we leave off with Bear Road? What did we talk about last week?
So, Bear Road, the idea of seeing if we could find someone to do culverts.
I know that didn't work
That
out,
did
so
not work,
it's
so
30,000 now, we're over,
31,
31.
31,000.
That's the way it
Over that much?
goes. Over the bid, okay.
Yes.
I'll find you 400 if you find it.
What was that?
I'll find you 400 if you find it, 31,000.
Hmm.
I'm just joking.
Probably about 10.
And our plan that we hobbled together 2 weeks or 3 weeks before
It doesn't
that.
take anything out of the sand and gravel that let me
No, I was trying to remember, that's not one of the lines we were
Yeah, that's, I don't think
robbing
so.
Peter.
I don't think we were robbing that one, but let me go look.
No, it was out of contingency and,
I'm hoping things aren't bad, so bad that we can't find $400.
Yeah, 400 doesn't
finish the
scare,
parking
yeah,
lot.
I understand, it doesn't scare me either, yeah. It's the 30,000, that's
Yeah,
the
When
thing
are they
I'm
gonna start?
afraid of. Pardon?
When are they gonna start? I know you awarded the contract.
Well, we're still working on the contract, so.
Okay. I remember
Can't
the other
skip.
meeting you awarded it, but you're still working on numbers.
No, we've told them, we don't have a signed contract yet, because we're, you know, they sent us something, and it's not
Still
the item of
negotiating.
agreement that we, it's just over the paperwork, really, it's not over the price.
Where are the,
I don't know.
They're right on the shelf above your filing cabinet.
Yeah,
imagine you can probably pull from her account because it was not.
Yeah, although, you know, it's, I think that's a thought. The sand and gravel line itself is a thought.
Yeah.
I'm almost there.
I know.
So, Yeah. So I think that, I'd like to entertain a motion anyway and see what happens.
It's open tomorrow.
Can we go on while you're filling that out, Chief?
I think it really needs a number on his senior gravel line.
Yeah.
I'll put that in here.
Oh, I don't have the official.
Oh,
Oh, I have the-
Hang on, I might have them here.
is it on here? They come first?
It is 431-2871.
Yes? The only thing that I don't have is where Jeff is gonna go get his, he told me it was Elliott Senior Gravel is where he went.
Why don't we put in that as the vendor and he can just change it because it's really the amount, I think, that we're most concerned about.
Yeah, it's either that or
Mhm. I'm sure, I don't know.
Staying. So we'll start the process one last time and I'll get out of here. Purchase order 747 to Elliott Sand and Gravel for $400 for sand and gravel finished. Cleaning the fire department parking lot.
Move purchase order number 747 to Elliott Sand and Gravel for up to $400 for sand and gravel to finish the fire station parking lot.
second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Well, thank you.
We'll have to do.
Don't work there for you.
We're gonna look at doing some dinners and stuff.
All right.
So we'll do with that. That is all that I have. Anything that you have for me?
No,
Questions,
I'm delighted
information?
you're putting something in the newsletter about fire permits. It's
Yes.
very timely. That would be great.
There's been a lot of changing because the state is going more towards online stuff. We still follow our old system, and we do that just for logging it in for the documentation end of it. But we've created some new forms that we give to the people that are coming in to pursue the permit, because they still need to go online and fill out that proper stuff through the state forest and lands. So I tried to put that in there to give, kind of jumpstart it a little bit so that people understand where it's headed.
They still have to go to you.
You still need to come into us. What happens is they'll go online, they'll fill out all that information that is needed on the state's form, and the state will send us emails saying who's gotten it, and then we print off copies and we keep that. But we still keep one just for our own documentation, just for, sometimes the state is, well, you know what the state is sometimes, so we try to just stay one step ahead of them, so I wanted to get that part in, because that just, yeah, you said it, more and more people are gonna start coming in and wanting to move. We just the other day during our event at the station, I think we filled out 6. So they see us there, people come in, and it's that time of year to do clean up, so it's coming. So is anything, I thinking a newsletter, are we where we wanna be with that, Selma? We need anything else? Are you looking for anything more?
I'm not looking for anything more
Okay.
than cutting, but
Cutting?
yes. we got it.
I didn't think I gave you too much cutting.
No, we didn't. I just wanna,
Some of us were verbose.
Uh-huh.
I think this is one more show.
We did. All right.
Thanks, Steve.
All right,
Thank
we're
you.
good.
Good work.
All right, thank you.
You can't take it.
We're only talking.
Very,
Gonna run off with it.
all right,
Thank you.
thank you. I don't know if he's ready, but we'll. Hmm? Mr. Conley, are you guys ready to come up? Ready to come up? Hi, I think we're ready for you.
I'm just sitting here watching.
apologize if we weren't here on time, I didn't have an agenda.
All right.
The last minute I figured out that you, 6:30 instead of 7.
Yeah. We were trying to get out before midnight.
That's a great idea. Well, thank you for seeing us tonight. For the record, my name is Paul Connolly, civil engineer and land surveyor, on behalf of Jason Lavoy, sitting on my left. Jason and his wife Megan own the subject premises at 110 Rollins Road in Rollinsford. It's also known as lot number 16 on tax map 1. As Madam Chair, as I sent in our email to you, we wanted to discuss the issuance of a building permit on for Mr. or Mrs. Lavoy on a Class 6 highway. Basically, it is a lot that at this point in time does not yet exist, and I'm going to apologize in advance for not really knowing who the chicken is and who the egg is, but we've been back and forth now between the planning board and the select board, and we just want to do it right. The planning board we met with last week with regard to a conceptual look at dividing Mr. and Mrs. Lavoy's 5-acre lot into basically a 2-acre lot with the existing house on it, and then a 3-acre lot behind that that would front on the Class 6 highway that's been known as Shady Lane and also known as Lover's Lane. So we ran that by the planning board. We also ran by them a model or a template of an agreement that might be drafted between the town and Mr. and Mrs. Lavoy with regard to the responsibility for maintenance of that highway. If the Lavoys were allowed to use it as frontage for the building lot and also for the purposes of gaining a building permit on the same. We got this to you earlier, but this, we just finished off our final draft today. I have another, do you want one for the record?
Yes,
Susan?
okay.
Sure.
Please. Thank
You're
you.
welcome. This is modeled in part by tracking the language that's set forth in state statute RSA 674:41. It's also modeled on text and suggestion made in the book I think you all know about, this Hard Road to Travel, and the section therein that deals specifically with building on Class 6 roadways, which is starts, I believe it's chapter 8 in that book, and it's on pages 147, 148.
Yeah, I have a part of it right up there.
149.
That has the bullet points on it.
Pardon?
And then finally, it's also modeled in part on previous agreement that has been made in Rollinsford between the town and private parties relative to the maintenance and upkeep Class 6 roadway, and the basically hold harmless arrangement that is made between the private party and the town, so that the town is not held liable for anything that might happen on through the use of said Class 6 roadway. In the statute, it does allow for the select board to issue a building permit on a Class 6 highway, and I'm at a little bit of a loss here, because again, I'm at the chicken and egg.
Yeah, well, I understand. I mean, this is a tricky thing. I mean, I think since Mr. Lavoy first brought this to us, and some folks, you know, sort of heard about it, we've heard some strong feelings against it. So, which makes me a little hesitant about the whole idea. One of the things that we read in here is how what's is how far the driveway will be from a class 5 road or better. What will that be?
Less than 600 feet?
You've read the documentation, haven't you?
Well, there has been case law on the matter before. I don't know if it's litigation that's been well trod, but there have been a number of cases over the years relative to Class 6 highways, probably because of this very type of discussion we're having right now and the infrequency that's had to have been dealt with.
I'm happy, I'll tell you who the strongest voice was that I've heard, and that's Ed Jansen's. And so it's sort of like, you know that old commercial when the broker, whatever that brokerage house talks, everybody listens?
Right.
So,
Smith Barney.
that's it, something like that. So, I don't know, you have, I suspect you have to recuse yourself, is that correct, Jody?
No, I don't.
You don't?
I don't, because it has no direct contact with me. I've checked with the
Did you-
RSA's and with the
But it has an effect on my immediate family member.
So, disqualification is required when a member has a direct personal or financial interest in the outcome.
Well, personal interest, that you would construe that to be, you would want the best thing for your brother. That's a strong personal interest. I mean, it's, did you check with the municipal association?
I will.
Did you check with the municipal association? Yep. And they said, do you have their, do you have an email from them?
I called them.
Oh, it's too bad you didn't have them
That's
send it.
okay.
I also had an email here from Pat. I went back and asked him back November 2nd if the town needed anything, because I'd like to move forward with hiring a surveyor, and I didn't want to invest all this money to get turned down. And he emailed me back saying, yeah, go ahead, hire one. So now here I am stuck with, quite a bit of money owed to Paul. And the other thing that I've read in the Hard Roads to Travel book is that even in the denial case, I can ask to bring the road, I can bring the road up to Class 5 standards, which
Yes.
I don't really want to do, and I'm sure that every single neighbor around me wouldn't want to do, because then the town would have to maintain it. And then it would look like an introduction to a highway, for one like Douglas. So I have these options, and I really don't want to, I'm really not trying to rattle anybody up, I'm just looking to build a house for myself, without being landlocked in there. I have a nice piece of property there, so I hate to just not be able to use it.
What, so the planning board went with Douglas and talked about other neighbors, I think. So what is your response to some of the concerns that?
Sure, and Madam Chair, in today's email from the planning board chair to you and to I believe,
Yes.
some of the notes that came forth from the meeting that were as follows. There was a concern as to that would happen, or probably what would happen if the land opposite, if the Lavoie's on Shady Lane was developed, could this land be used as frontage for them also? Well, the answer is maybe yes, maybe no. It could be used if the select board and the planning board were to be approving of that request. Just really no different than us being here before you tonight, and they meet all other aspects of the zoning ordinance and subdivision regulations. That being said, in the agreement that I just set
This
forth
one here?
before you, we modified the language to accommodate for that under item number 7. That says, this agreement may be amended from time to time should it become necessary to allow additional / other parties to be named herein. So should that be desired, and again, should the 600-foot rule be met and so forth, I guess the possibility exists. The probability is low, just based on my observation of the adjoining land and its configuration. But
Do you have a map of the land and the surrounding, because I'm a little fuzzy about what that
We
looks
have
like.
a,
That's yours, right?
should have brought more copies of this. The subject premises is this L or J-shaped parcel, and this is the proposed division
I'm
line.
sorry, I missed your hand get in the way. Where's the current?
Is this J-shaped parcel?
Okay. Oh, I see.
Rollins Road.
Yeah, right like this.
And J Lane.
Okay.
So the proposed lot is back here, 3+ acres, and the existing lot, or remaining lot, would be a little bit over 2 acres with the existing house and garage on it.
And what is the current, what does this look like, Shady Lane?
It's very drivable, right up to here. There's a pile of debris right about here, and then beyond, it's drivable right up to about here, where it becomes rather wet. It's about roughly 12 to 14 feet wide gravel at present. And I've been driving in and out of there for years, on a 2-wheel drive, and it was
And the wetlands back there, I mean, is any, is wetlands at play with the, you know, if Shady Lane were not, if this were not a class 6 public highway, would there be issues with regard to wetlands and the building permit and where it's located?
not at all. There's a tiny little piece of wetlands here, there's a tiny little piece of wetlands there, and it doesn't come into play at all, really. I mean, we did flag them, we mapped them, and we subtracted them out of our gross lot area to come up with net lot areas. So net lot area for the front lot is 2 acres, again, meeting the zoning requirement. In net lot area, once you subtract out the wetlands and back, it still leaves over 3 acres out back. This is a very nice proposed lot. It's entirely open. It's been paid or cut for as many years back as I can remember. And it has some very nice views in the distance of the wetlands between here and the Wentworth Douglas Hospital parking garage. In this direction, you can see Garrison Health.
The
So
soils
I
are
think the
actually,
concern that you're raising, Janelle, are there's wetlands on the other side of Shady Lane. You wouldn't necessarily be able to build okay.
Yes.
So let's just say it was a class 5 road.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Lavoy would be able to build on his side of the road and perhaps behind there. But on the other side of the road, you're heading toward Wentworth Douglas on the left-hand side, it's full of wetlands back there, so you more than likely wouldn't be able to build on that side. So I think was that part of your concern?
Well,
If it was opened up further for
Yeah.
further development, I don't know if you could
yeah.
develop there, but my concerns aren't based on that. So
So,
we
like, you have
have the
concerns?
issue, I don't think they're insurmountable concerns, I just think they're concerns.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean,
We
we're
have
just
the
trying,
issue of
no, we're
the
trying
road
to
being
figure things
closed,
out.
subject to gates and bars.
Yes.
We do have that issue. That the town meeting closed the road, state statute closed the road, all class 6 roads apparently in 1999 according to whatever email I just saw. I didn't print it out, I apologize. So we have that issue we need to deal with. When Mr. Vermette built his house on Scoutland Road, the town meeting decided to actually subject the, further on, Scoutland Road, past his driveway, subject to gates and bars. So, there's the town meeting made this decision back in whatever year it was we found. Do they need to now, before we can issue a building permit to build on this road, change that decision? Because we didn't make the decision. The select board didn't, the town meeting did. What was the other issue that we have? that we
Just
deal with?
to track back on your train of thought and the language,
Mhm.
I believe the specific language in closing it is subject to gates and bars.
Mhm.
So subject to gates and bars doesn't necessarily equate to gates and bars being placed thereon.
No, I understand the concept, that they don't physically have to be there, but they're still closed to vehicular traffic.
but the gates and bars.
No.
Not
Oh,
necessarily.
I understand.
Unless, the landowner has access, can have access, and the municipality can have access, but it's not necessarily open to cars. We've had this discussion, we had a discussion about Fresh Creek. This is where it all sort of, I don't think it's insurmountable, I don't think there's anything we can't work around, but we just wanna make sure we do it properly, that's all.
Oh, yeah,
So,
no,
and you know, the other issue we have is that the planning board, before we issue anything, they're supposed to hold a public hearing, not an advisory, whatever Pat was calling it, and actually issue an opinion to the Board of Selectmen. I mean, that's the other thing we need to make sure we follow that. We found that in.
I don't see that. I don't,
I just read it.
It says in that.
I have, what I see is that the local governing body, that's us, after review and comment by the planning board, so the planning board has
So
reviewed
they-
it.
And did they issue formal comments though? Because,
Yeah, you emailed it.
but, no,
Is that not?
Well, was that not accept, was that?
that's not formal
Yeah, the
comment.
board needs to send the comments.
Yeah, I
not-
mean, just Pat Mackin just sending his opinion isn't
So-
isn't the planning board's opinion, you know, so.
And so far, we've only met with the board in a conceptual and consultation
right.
basis. Our next step with the board is to file for formal and final subdivision
Right.
review and approval. And again, we want to run this, we're trying to run this contemporaneously with the planning board and the select board, just that, so that all parties
Right.
are able to weigh in, although there's really no provision for a joint meeting from a legislative basis.
So, if it's on the agenda of the planning board next week, that a formal review and comments are sent to the select board, that,
Not next week, next month, yeah.
that would resolve that. And we could make, the agenda is public, so we could invite Ed Jansen to go, and anybody else who had a strong feeling, so that we could at least hear what some of the, I don't have that background, and but I would like to be reminded of what people are concerned about. And so we wanna make this, we're gonna try to keep this going forward, but to be fair to the public in this situation, because it is a road that the town doesn't maintain, because we know that there's feeling out there about Shady Lane, and it's not your piece, it's just,
It's further in.
it's just Shady Lane, and don't do it,
Yeah,
so.
they don't wanna see it at class 5 road.
So-
I don't wanna see it at class 5, you know what I mean?
And it says right here, even if the road is subjected to gates and bars, that the owner, meaning the town, still needs to require public travelers to open and close the gate. It's still usable piece of property. So pretty much the gates and bar rule was put in 1903 for livestock. So the term gates and bars is just literally a gate, but it's still usable.
It's supposed to be openable by the general
If
public.
there were a gate, the town would have to allow that person to open and close it
Yes.
as they want.
Yes,
So,
agreed.
in the only way that the road could be discontinued, that says right in here, is the Commissioner of Transportation could discontinue it. Or, if it were discontinued, then the town of Rollinsford would have deeded back the land to me, or to whoever abuts it.
Well, there's two words in play. There's discontinue, which the town did in March of '77, and then there's another word, abandon, okay, where
We can abandon.
you walk away from your rights in the right of way at that point, and thereafter, rights of reversion can take place, okay? That may mean that ownerships revert to the center. In other cases, it may mean that ownership reverts to one side or the other side, or it could mean something entirely different. That's a matter that has to be decided, I mean, we're talking hypothetically, but that's a matter that's decided upon by land surveyors and lawyers. But we're not talking about that.
No, we're trying to get this, trying to figure out a way to make this happen, so we're not there, but.
Going back to page 147 and under the building along class 6 highways, RSA 674:41. As you just stated, Madam Chair, the local governing body, in this case the Board of Selectmen, after review and comment by the planning board, has voted to permit building. Okay, so that's one thing that you would have to do after perhaps another stop before the planning board.
Yeah, I think, I don't know about you, Michael, but I would prefer to have the planning board provide us with the review and the comments.
Sure.
So that
We have it.
the membership of the planning board has.
Just a question, Mike, are you still ex officio? Okay, so you just weren't there at last meeting?
I had the flu, so you're very happy I wasn't there, Mr. Conlon. You
That
probably
would be
wouldn't be here right now either.
Okay, so usually you are, okay,
Yes.
all right, so you can act as the courier.
And I
of
would
information.
have done that evening, but I do apologize. But it still wasn't on the agenda as an actual, I don't think, Conley wasn't, I mean, pardon me, Mr. Macklin wasn't prepared to offer an actual opinion, or the board, I don't believe was prepared to do that, so I think that's part of the problem.
It was initial
Yeah.
consult. And-
Yeah.
And certainly with a final application before that board, you'll be entirely informed about the dimensions and courses of the both proposed lots, the areas, the length of the driveway, and
When we had this conversation, was it back in November when you came in the first time?
Yeah.
The planning board, there wasn't as much concern there, on the lot that you want to build on. It was, people were more concerned on the other side of the street and further back. That's where the bulk of the conversation, as I recall, that evening. But I don't know what was said on
Well-
Tuesday, last Tuesday, because I wasn't there, so I just saw Mr. Macklin's comments, but
Yes.
they're just his.
So, the next step, if the next step is to have more formal comment and review by the planning board, we can ensure that certain folks are there who have mentioned to me, don't do this, because I can't, I don't wanna hold up a resident's, property owner's attempts to move forward with something because I'm unsure or unclear of something. So as long as the people who are pounding on me have an opportunity to make their voice heard, and I think the planning board, the next meeting of the planning board, if that comes on the agenda, would be a good next step.
I mean, there's also, obviously, I think we want time to review the agreement that you've outlined.
Yes, we would do that
There's-
as well.
to that point,
There's several, I mean, I'm not sure if all the details are contained in the agreement that are spelled out in 674-41. I just want to review that too.
and on page 147, that very point, Mike, would be addressed under the next suggestion, which says the municipality assumes neither responsibility for road maintenance
Yeah.
nor liability for any damages arising out of road use. Again, then we go to the agreement, and we look for the language in it to address those matters. So it does address school matters there, it addresses maintenance matters, and it addresses liability matters. And then finally, back to the select board, prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant produces evidence that notice of the limits of municipal responsibility and liability has been recorded in the county registry of deeds. Well, that would just mean formalizing this agreement,
And including it,
signing it,
yeah.
putting it on record. Then the formal permit can be released, provided that, building
All other,
meets code and we've got a subdivision approval and everything else. Septic system approval.
driveway within 600 feet.
Well, it doesn't,
Go ahead, Michael.
it doesn't necessarily have to, it just said in the case of, was it Vashon versus New Durham? That was
Yeah,
the
one of
reason
the
they denied
cases.
it, because it wasn't,
Yeah,
it
it was
exceeded
somewhere about
600 feet, I
driveways,
think.
600 feet,
It's, I
yeah.
mean,
I
that's-
don't remember.
And the point is, I guess, of that case, that municipalities can deny. It was the
Yeah.
gist of it,
We just
But-
literally
so. But when you hung up on 600 feet, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, we just literally finished our survey work a couple days ago. It's in worksheet form at this point, and us and the little boys have picked out the location for their driveway cut off of Shady Lane. And it's just under 600 feet, come to find out, from Rollins Road. But it's kind of the perfect place for it, in that it's a high point on the road, and it's already cut. Literally, you don't have to take down one more tree to get through there. So it's an ancient field cut, what it is.
Mhm.
Because again, the property has been cut and maintained on a yearly basis. At the same time, and along with the Genadas property, which is like 80 acres that sits right behind it.
All right, so,
It would probably be beneficial if we went over that.
yeah,
So we could have an
I-
idea,
I
if you're okay with us working on, so. Yeah, we can go on the road, obviously, but.
Yeah.
so I'm looking for a pile of debris.
Yeah, once you drive down
Yeah, you'll see some
Shady Lane about less than 400 feet, probably about 300
You
feet.
can't, you can only go one way,
You're gonna have to go right into Jason's field. where he has a gravel cul-de-sac in an area that he had permitted in 2008 to operate his home business out of, which was the storage of his excavator and trailer and dump truck, which he formerly
And
owned.
you can see equipment from Rollins, you still have stuff out there.
Yeah.
You can see it from Rollins Road, so you'll know where you're going, because
Okay,
you'll see there's equipment.
okay.
And from there, you can just, it's easy just to walk right out in the field and
So the board will wait for a formal review from the planning board. The board will spend some time with this agreement, and probably have legal take a look at it, we can talk about that. And those are our next steps.
So
Is
we
there
wanna
anything
make
else?
sure, though, that, Paul, that you contact Macklin, make sure you really get on the agenda, because he's,
well, we
I'm
have
sticking
until the
sometimes.
19th to file. We're working hard to that
I wanna
end.
make sure you don't miss it.
If we don't make it,
so.
it'll be in July instead of June, but
Right.
we're trying to make it. I thought Pat might be here tonight, but I don't see him here.
I thought he might be here too.
Also with us
I
tonight
was expecting to yell at me.
is Bill Shaheen. Attorney Shaheen works with Jason from time to time, and I just want to introduce his presence and ask if he had anything that he wanted to say.
No, I'm just, I'm just here as a spectator. Thank you.
Okay.
So, we'll go back to the board, planning board, and then we'd like to, I mean, presuming that things move along, we'll come back and meet with the select board.
That sounds good. So we'll do homework on our part, we'll wait for a formal review from the planning board, and one step at a time.
Just as a matter of following up with your suggestion, in other words, the public forum, there is a public hearing, it will have to be a public hearing by the planning board for the consideration of the subdivision. I guess that's the public hearing forum that you referred to, where not only abutters, but interested parties can weigh in on. In other words, people with standing, and can address the board, and that gets back to you.
True, but I was thinking though, if that's not gonna happen, is that your next step with the planning board? So that's either the June or the July meetings? So there will be a public hearing scheduled for either that June or July?
Yes.
Okay.
And I guess what I'm also saying is that there's not a procedure or protocol with regard to the planning board, with regard to the select board acting on or issuing a building permit, or notice that a building permit could be issued, and giving the planning board notice of that.
Are you asking us if we would consider providing the planning board with something that says the board is ready to issue a building permit? All other things being equal, is that what you're asking?
The planning board will want to know that before they sign the subdivision plan.
All right, well, we will proceed with, I think, with reviewing this and, probably taking this to legal and checking in with some of the people who have been, and this was many months ago, so with many crises that have intervened. And so I will just refresh myself personally on what their objections are. They may have no relevance to this. They may have a relevance to farther along Shady Lane. So, it may just be, Heward getting her head straight around what this is, so that I will feel,
Right. Certainly, there is, I'm sure, concern about precedent that could be set. There's concern about other Class 6 highways in town and the ability to build on those. And I would just suggest that, pretty much in keeping with zoning board of adjustment considerations, that every case has to be heard on its own merits and on a case-by-case basis, because every case is very unique. If they were all the same, we wouldn't even need to meet. We'd just, whip up a little cookie cutter, cake mix answer to the question, and go out from there.
agreed. There are many times when we would like cookie cutters. You can make a fortune selling cookie cutters, so.
Thank you very much for your
Well,
time.
thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
One step at a time, thank you.
Yep.
And if you could email from the municipal association, that would be really helpful.
All right.
Thank you. All right. I've lost my agenda. Oh, I have it. All right, we're back. Is there any other community business?
Can I just make a comment on what just,
We're in the community, we're back in the community
Okay.
business phase, so,
I'm Nancy Dione, and I have a concern, and I'm the one that brought it to your attention to begin with.
all right, you were not as loud as Ed though, because Ed is the voice I'm hearing in my
No,
ear.
Yeah.
no, I'm the one that went back and found the original minutes,
Okay,
and there used to be a gate there.
yes.
Now, if they were to put a driveway there, is that gonna impede anybody from being able to walk that area? Because it is a town-owned road, and once a driveway is put in there, is someone still going to be able to walk
Well,
that
that's an
road?
excellent question.
It shouldn't, I mean, because you can still walk on, I mean, I don't know, but you can still walk on snow pads, I don't know. But I don't know. if
And
they
that
allow
was-
it.
that
Yes,
was-
I would. Jason,
Jason?
could we ask you to just stay here for 2 minutes?
Yeah.
So there was a question raised right after you left.
Yeah.
about- It remains a class 6 road.
Yeah,
Therefore, the public would still be allowed to walk that or ski
course,
over
yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah, it stays, what I'm really trying to avoid, you know, kind of off the record is, it really is a beautiful piece of property. And the soils out there, it's all sand, actually. The Mark across the street told me that it was like a sand pit. And the property's probably worth $100,000, and I hate to landlock it. That was my whole intention of buying this property back 8 years ago, was to eventually build a house back there. And I have the means and the resources to upgrade the road and pave it, and I don't want that, just like everybody else doesn't want it, you know what I mean? But I also really studied this and got advice on all this stuff as far as, before, I mean, I'm into Paul Collins for $10,000, I can't turn back now, you know what I mean? And the
Understood, it's
and the only
expensive.
reason I went through that was because I got one of the planning board members to say, yeah, go ahead and do it, you know what I mean? Or I would have done all this legwork first,
So,
you know?
but his driveway shouldn't interfere with Shady Lane, so.
But yes, because he's going to use that area, correct? You're gonna use the frontage of Shady Lane as part of the driveway to get up to the lot, correct?
I have to use Shady Lane to get to my house.
Yes.
Yeah.
That doesn't,
But it
the
would be
fact that
off
he
of
is
it, it
using it,
wouldn't
the fact
be-
that he's using it as a drive, to get to his driveway doesn't mean that other people can't use it. That's not
It's
a,
still a.
Right, yeah.
It was, but it was also.
Yeah, other people could drive it, for
well,
sure.
Yeah,
okay, I'm good,
It's a town road,
yeah,
Yeah.
so,
yeah.
okay.
Okay, and the other thing is there used to be a gate there.
Yes.
Before you.
But even though there, and I can see that you're, you know, getting a little upset about it.
No, I'm not getting
Which is
upset, I'm
good.
the one that brought it
Well, the
because
gate,
the class 6.
but if you actually get a copy of that gates and bars, the only way that the road cannot be used is if it was discontinued, meaning it was completely wiped out. The gates and bar rule is actually, was put in there, like I had said, in like 1903, and it was due to livestock. But the owner of the road, meaning the town, would still have to
Correct.
give whoever wanted to use it, if you wanted to use it, they'd have to give you a key and say, here you go, open and close it when you're ready.
Correct,
You know
and
what
the
I'm
reason
saying?
that it went to bars and gates
Mhm.
is because the city of Dover asked Rollinsford to do it because there were too many four-wheelers going up and ruining Garrison
Right.
Hill. And that was the purpose when they
Yeah, I
first
mean, if
did
we gotta
it.
put a gate back in, I'll put an electric line, you know what I mean?
No, but I'm just saying, you know, it wasn't
Yeah.
Rollinsford's idea, so Rollinsford went along with the provision of Dover, that was all.
I'm gonna,
Yeah,
Bring us
Yeah.
back in.
so
Yeah.
that's something to think about, and also, I mean,
yeah.
it will come up, I think, at a public hearing, so that would be
Well,
something that I
yeah,
wanna think
my
about.
neighbor
But,
across the street hates me, you know, it's just, there's a lot of, you know, negatives in it, but I have been just under advice, some of it legal advice, was told that the stipulations are just A, B, and C, you know what I mean? Everybody in the whole town could come in and say, well, I don't want this, I don't want that, you know what I mean? The laws are the laws, and that's what I was advised, you know what I mean?